So now I'm going to open up the new package here, pour out the parts. So you can see that there. Alright, so this particular package did come with the replacement spring. So we've got a little rod there, spring, lever, needle. Here's that little piece of screen that you could replace if you wanted to. Here is a Welch plug, something else I'm not going to bother replacing, and then we've got our gaskets here. So if we want to start with the metering gasket, there's the old one, and the new one is going to sit like that on the carb. And if we take a look at this piece, like so, or like so. We'll figure it out when we get to that point. So here's our carb. It's all cleaned up. Let's start by putting this piece first. So I'm going to take the diaphragm and lay it on here. Now there are little flaps, you'll see, and those little flaps basically cover up specific holes in the carburetor. Kind of acts as a check valve. Lets the fluid flow out but not in. And then we'll take our gasket, kind of line everything up, and we take this piece and we put it back on. This little piece has little, put this down for a moment, little protrusions out of here and here, kind of like little pins, and they line up with holes that are in the carburetor body here. Oops, got this backwards. There you go. So those little pins go in here and here. So when you put this back on, everything is lined up and centered where it needs to be. Make sure it sits nice. Then take the screw and number 2 Phillips. And just snug it down. There we go. Now let's flip it over. Take a look at the needle side of the carburetor. And here's the tricky bit, because this spring is supposed to sit in that little hole there, and nothing's really holding it in except gravity right now. So with that in place, I'll take this little doohickey, slide that rod through it, and then the needle will hang like so. And this whole contraption needs to be set down now onto the carb, onto the spring. Let's see if I can do this in one shot. Nope, came off. Get the needle back out. Trickiest part about this whole process. Sometimes you get it in the first shot, sometimes it just wants to fight you. And my spring is not behaving. Maybe? Nope. Alright, I'll get this in and I'll come back to you. So I ended up dropping the spring somewhere on my floor, but fortunately I had the other spring. So now that I've got it held in place with my thumb, I'll take that little screw that the T9 Torx is used for. Put this back in place. Come now. There we go. So just give it a snug it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be real tight. And now I need to get my Z. Okay, so this is my Z. This is what I'm talking about. And what this is for is that this little lever right here that goes up and down to open and close the needle to let fuel flow through, that needs to be at a specific height compared to the flat edge of the carburetor here. And this happens to be a Zama C1M, Z for Zama. And if I look at this Z, this has different types of carbs all around, the C1U, C10 or O, C1M, that's the one I need. And all around here on this side are different numbers, different types of carbs. So the C1M is this edge right here. So what we're going to do is lay it across there, and then this thing should just touch. And in reality it's not. It's a little bit off. So it needs to come up. So I'm going to just give it a little bend. Not too much. And lay this on there again. And it looks like it's just about right now. So this little tab is flush with the carburetor there. So now that's in place, we're going to put our metering diaphragm on. First of all, we'll put the gasket down, and then this diaphragm goes like so. And then in this case, this white piece, which isn't always on these two carbs, these two-stroke carbs, this is a different kind of a piece. And I just have to remember which way it goes, so it's going to go this way, I believe, because here's where the air box is, and this tube on top actually goes into the air box. Then we take the primer bulb to set it down in place, and then we'll take all of our 4 screws here, get them started. Oh, come now. Let me make sure that my diaphragm is still in place. Well, let's do this another way. Put the screws up from the bottom here. Another one in the opposite corner. And let's see how that works. There we go. Just kind of look around, make sure that diaphragm is even. Looks pretty good. Snug it down evenly all the way around, little at a time. Okay, now the next thing is to put the high and the low needles back in place. Okay. Now there's a difference between these two. The low needle is actually a little bit longer if you line them up there. And there's a little L and a little H. So let's put the low in the L. And something is causing a problem getting this needle back in place. No, not a problem. Just need a little more pressure on it. So let's turn this in all the way till it seats, and you don't have to crank it down real tight. Okay, that feels good right there. And now we're going to back it off as we determined earlier by 1 3/4. So looking at the flat side of my screwdriver, there's half a turn, one complete turn, then another half a turn, and 3/4 of a turn. Now the low was only 3/4, so let's set that one all the way in. Okay, now we've got that seated. Let's do this 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4, and we'll stop right there. So, alright, so there we go. The carburetor has been rebuilt. I'm not going to put those limiting caps back on. That's put on there for EPA purposes and people who don't know what they're doing. But we're smarter than that, right guys? Gals on YouTube? Alright, rebuilt.